if I told you that the person you are right now is just a memory, a record of the past? And what if I told you that within you, right now, lies the potential to create a completely new future? One where you're no longer defined by your past experiences, your limitations, or even your identity. You see, every time you think the same thoughts, you're firing and wiring the same circuits in your brain. You are reinforcing a known self, a predictable personality, producing a predictable personal reality. But today, right now, you are going to disrupt that pattern. Because the next version of you, the more courageous, more focused, more powerful, you already exists. It's not a matter of becoming. It's a matter of aligning. When you change your energy, you change your life. And when your mind and body are no longer living in the memory of the past, but in the vision of the future, you begin to unlock a level of transformation that most people only dream about. So take a deep breath, close your eyes. Personal reality, your relationships, your job, your health, your wealth, is simply a reflection of that personality. Most people wake up every morning and immediately begin to think in the same patterns, feel the same emotions, and behave in the same ways as the day before. As a result, they create the same experiences over and over again. The brain becomes hardwired into a known identity, and life becomes a cycle of repetition. This is why so many people feel stuck. They're living out the same reality, anchored by the same thoughts, firing the same neural networks, and reinforcing the same emotional states. If you want to change your personal reality, your outer world, you must first change your personality, your inner world. That means you have to start becoming aware of your unconscious thoughts. You have to notice how you speak, how you react, how you feel in the body. Most of that behavior is automatic. It's a program. But once you can observe it without judgment, you begin to gain power over it. The moment you step outside the familiar and start thinking new thoughts, taking new actions, and feeling new emotions, you are literally rewiring your brain and reconditioning your body to a new mind. In doing so, you are no longer the same personality, and because your personality has changed, your personal reality will begin to shift. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. When you align your thoughts, behaviors, and feelings with a vision of the future rather than a memory of the past, you are stepping into the unknown. And it's in that unknown that true change, transformation, and creation happen. Everything in the universe is energy, including you. Every thought you think and every emotion you feel carries a frequency. When you're stuck in survival emotions like fear, anger, or guilt, your energy becomes incoherent, chaotic, and low. In this state, you are more likely to react to your environment instead of creating your reality. Your body becomes the mind, and you start living in stress, constantly anticipating danger or reliving old trauma. The longer you stay in these emotional states, the more your energy is out of alignment with the future you desire. To truly change your life, you must raise your energy, because the energy you emit is the signal you're broadcasting into the field. The quantum model of reality tells us that you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If your energy is stuck in the past, you'll keep recreating the same circumstances. But if you begin to elevate your emotional state, if you start to feel gratitude, inspiration, love, and joy ahead of the experience before it's even happened, you are signaling to the universe that your future has already arrived. Your body begins to believe it's living in that new reality. And when your body is no longer conditioned to the familiar emotions of the past, it begins to trust the unknown. As you change your energy, your life must change to reflect that new state of being. The brain starts firing in new sequences, the heart becomes more coherent, and the body moves out of survival and into creation. You become more whole, more aligned, more present. And the field responds not to what you're thinking about, but to who you're being. Change your energy, and you change the electromagnetic signature you're sending out, which determines the experiences that show up in your life. Breaking the habit of being yourself means stepping outside the familiar identity you've rehearsed for years. Most people live by the same emotions every single day, which leads them to think the same thoughts, perform the same behaviors, and create the same experiences. Over time, this repetition creates a neurological and emotional pattern that becomes automatic. It becomes who you are. Your brain becomes hardwired to fire in predictable sequences, and your body becomes chemically conditioned to expect those familiar emotional states. You may say you want to change, but your body has memorized the old self so deeply that it resists the unknown. It craves what's familiar, even if it's painful. To break the habit of being yourself, you must begin by becoming conscious of your unconscious thoughts. You must notice the internal dialogue that keeps you stuck in limitation, judgment, and fear. Then, you have to catch yourself in the act of your habitual behaviors. The ways you react, the routines you follow, the roles you play, and ask, is this who I want to be? Equally important is becoming aware of the emotions you've memorized. Guilt, unworthiness, resentment, impatience. These emotions have become part of your identity, and the body becomes invulnerable. They become formal decisions. They become subtle. You can't lead. Change begins when you no longer think, act, or feel like the old self. The moment you start making different choices in your thoughts and behaviors, you step into the unfamiliar. That's where discomfort arises, but it's also where transformation begins. By repeatedly choosing to think greater than your environment and feel emotions aligned with your desired future, you recondition the body to a new mind. The old self begins to die and a new self starts to emerge. This process requires awareness, intention, and repetition. But it is how you free yourself from the past and create a new destiny. Most people spend the majority of their lives living from a memory of the past. They wake up and immediately reconnect with everything that reminds them of who they think they are. Their problems, routines, relationships, and emotions. As they recall these familiar experiences, they begin to feel the same emotions they felt yesterday, which leads to the same thoughts, the same behaviors, and ultimately the same outcomes. Their biology is anchored to their history. The problem is that when you keep rehearsing the past, you reinforce it neurologically and emotionally. The brain doesn't know the difference between a real experience and one you're vividly imagining. So by reliving old scenarios, you're teaching your body to stay trapped in a familiar identity. True change begins when you stop allowing your past to dictate how you think and feel. Instead of waking up and remembering who you've been, you begin to imagine who you want to become. You replace thoughts rooted in memory with thoughts connected to possibility. You begin to visualize a future where you're already living in the health, success, love, or abundance you desire. And you don't wait for it to happen to feel the emotions, you generate them now. You feel gratitude as if it's already done, confidence as if you've already succeeded, wholeness as if you're already healed. This process rewires your brain and conditions your body to a new future. The more you mentally rehearse this version of yourself, the more familiar it becomes. Eventually, you start acting, thinking, and feeling like that future person right now. And because you're aligning your internal state with the reality you want to create, your environment, your circumstances, and your life begin to reflect that change. You're no longer living in the past, you're creating your future in the present moment. The quantum field is an invisible field of energy and information that exists beyond space and time. It contains infinite possibilities, and it responds not to what you want, but to who you are being. Most people try to create a new life from the same level of consciousness that created their current reality. They set intentions, make plans, and take action, but if their internal state is still rooted in fear, lack, or unworthiness, they are energetically out of alignment with the future they desire. In the quantum model, it's not enough to think positively. You have to become the vibrational match of the reality you want to experience. When you begin to embody elevated emotions like gratitude, love, and empowerment, your heart becomes more coherent, your brain enters a state of harmony, and your energy shifts into a higher frequency. In this state, you're no longer sending out a signal of desperation or separation. Instead, you're broadcasting a message of wholeness and alignment. The quantum field, which is intelligent and responsive, begins to reflect that new signal back to you in the form of synchronicities, opportunities, and unexpected outcomes. It's not magic, it's cause and effect. Your internal state is the cause, and your external reality is the effect. To truly change your life, you have to stop trying to create from the outside in and start creating from the inside out. That means becoming the future version of yourself now, before the evidence appears. You must think, feel, and act as if the life you want is already happening. The more you practice this, the more you condition your body to trust that new reality, and the more consistent your energy becomes, the more the field responds not to your wishes, but to your embodiment of that future.